Dad. Happy Father's Day. And to anyone who might see this in the future, down the years that it might be on YouTube links, enjoy the lesson. Dad, this is for you. And when I was about 4 years old, as you know, I used to get so excited, Shelly too, about you making us scrambled eggs for dinner. And your scrambled eggs were so good. They were different than what Mom used to make. And I asked you then, Dad, would you teach me someday how to make scrambled eggs like you do? And you said, when you turn them in, I'll teach you. Well, by the time I became an adult, I was already well on my way to trying to figure out how you made scrambled eggs. Today I'm going to show you how I've taken it to what I grew up with and was inspired to do, and what I learned along the way about eggs. And I learned a lot. Okay, before we get to the scrambled egg part, I'm going to put the eggs on the side right now, because one of the things we're going to do is we're going to get to the way to make whipped cream cheese, which goes into this. The very best scrambled eggs I ever had were in Vancouver, and they had whipped scrambled cream cheese into it. So right now, let's start with step one. How to make whipped cream cheese. Now we're going to start off here with this whipped cream cheese, this cream cheese from Hokkaido. It's 200 grams. Now, if you try to look on the internet under food videos or anything, trying to search for it, you will not find a recipe for making it. It's kind of well protected. There's Philadelphia, whipped cream cheese, and there's all these questions on the internet. How do I make cream cheese like the whipped Philadelphia cream cheese? And there isn't anything there. Just people saying, I tried this and it didn't work. And there goes my oven. We're going to use that to keep our potatoes going. Jesus, I got to do this again. We keep it rolling, but damn it. Okay, here we go. All right, there we go. Okay, back to the cream cheese. Here we go. There's lots of people just saying I can't make it. It didn't come out right. And I'm going to teach you how to make good whipped cream cheese. First thing is, you can't use milk. People make that mistake thinking, okay, I need to add something and thin it out and whip it up. And that's not what's happening with cream cheese. Cream cheese needs to get air into it. So that will happen by whipping it, but we need something else. We need to whip things that will double in size. Well, egg whites double in size, but that's dangerous to work with because it's raw. You can't do that. Butter will double in size. Whipping cream definitely will double in size, as will margarine. Margarine will get bigger. Fly, get out of here. There we go. So, summertime, sorry, we have the doors open. Here we go. We need a scale for 200 grams. Let's take it down to the basics, because you can do this with any measurement. To every 100 grams of cream cheese, you are going to use 7 grams of butter and 7 grams of whipping cream, and half of that, 3.5 grams of margarine. So we're going to double that. We have our cream cheese in here. We have our scale on. So double that, and we got 7. So I'm going here, just going to get, and it doesn't have to be exact, but this is the formula. So there we go. There's 7. We need 14 butter. So that's a little bit more. And almost there. This should put us right over the top. 14 exactly. Okay. All right. Now, wipe this off. And of course, after we're done with things, I don't need them here, so I'm going to put them away. We no longer need margarine. Put that away. And put on the tar it, and 14 of whipping cream. Almost there. Ooh, just a little bit over. 14. There we go. And get the excess out of there. Nicely splashed on my shirt. It's okay. All right. We don't need whipping cream. That goes back. Now, we're set. That's the formula. Now all it is whipping. We don't need this anymore either. Stay normal. Okay, while this is whipping, we talk about the uses of whipping whipped cream cheese. When I use bagels, we use whipped cream cheese. There's a wonderful whipped cream cheese that I do. You just take a whole package from the store here in Japan of woks, and I'll throw that in with everything else. So here we go. There you go. The butter, the margarine, the whipping cream, all whipping in air, making the cream cheese perfect. So there you go. This is the lesson on whipped cream cheese that all the deli people do not want you to know. It doesn't cost a lot to do. And they definitely charge you more for whipped cream cheese than regular just cream cheese. There you go. Keaton loves to lick these. So I'm going to save those for him. When he gets home from school, he'll have a special treat. All right. So now our cream cheese is done. And put that over here on the side. Next, before we get to the scrambled eggs, I'm going to make our fried potatoes. All right, that one's done. All right, go on to my next one. I think I might have to open this one. It's a fresh one. Olive oil. All right, here we go. A little bit of olive oil. Put that olive oil up hot. Okay. First thing we put in pre-cooked, par-cooked, actually. How par-cooked? Check it with a fork, you can see. It's not falling apart when you put your fork in. That's what you want. Just a little hard going in. All right, next. Over here on the side. It's going to go in next. Now I have a very, my own unique way of making fried potatoes. I always call it potatoes O'Brien, but technically it's not a potatoes O'Brien that I make. Potatoes O'Brien would have, besides the fried potatoes, and I put onions in, would be green and red bell peppers, usually sliced. I would make it, if I did do it, I would chop them up. I'd do diced. At this point, while it's cooking, a little bit of seasoning, not too much. I use a little bit of pepper. Turn that down a little bit. Now, this might get a little noisy because I do have to use the fan. So hopefully that won't get too much. I'm going to add our onion. Some garlic is nice. The interesting thing with garlic is you can remove it. You don't even have to take off the skin. I'm taking the skin off, but I'm going to just throw it in and take it out later. It will just add a little bit of flavor. I remember to take it out so no one ends up eating garlic. Alright, we're going to get this going well. We want it to brown. So, okay, we're doing good. The next thing I do with my potatoes that makes it my style, I use Parmesan cheese. Now, there are some things I use fresh Parmesan for. That would be like my, a lot of my dishes have fresh Parmesan in it. If I make Caesar salad, I'm going to use fresh Parmesan. If I make bagel chips or potatoes, I prefer to have the powdered. Sometimes the powdered works better for certain foods. I don't really want it to melt so much. It's just adding the flavor. And not to make it spicy, but just a dash of flavor, just a tiny bit there. Tabasco. And that's going to blend in real well with what I'm going to do next. Next thing we're going to do, I'm going to add some clarified butter over it. Just a little bit. And some white wine. Crank up the heat. That's why I need the fan on. Try to get a little flambe off of that. Give a little bit of heat flavor. Okay. And bring it back on so I have the highest heat possible. I do a reduction on the wine so it evaporates. Now as I do the rest of this stuff, I'm going to put this into the oven and let it stay warm. But we want to brown it just a little bit now, at least to the point where at least to the point where our onions start looking good. This is a Teflon pan, so we use a rubber spatula. And also the rubber spatula is what we want to use most of all when cooking eggs. Scrambled eggs. And it also works good for getting the cream cheese out of the bowl. Love my rubber spatula. Okay, we're getting a little bit of brown. It means there we go. Now, Dad, this is going to be a scrambled egg breakfast. I've got a nice little plate here with some croissants on it, and we're going to use those. And I'm making this for you, but my cameraman Alan's going to eat it. So that looks pretty good. That looks great right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just keep this hot. There we go. Stick it in my oven. It's already preheated at a low temperature. Let's just turn it off so it doesn't cook too much. It's a nice temperature right now. All right. So that brings us to our next part. We're going to make scrambled eggs now. Clean our pan a little bit. There we go. So you could use just one pan and put the potatoes on a plate because they're done. But I want the potatoes to be nice and hot. All right, let's get this going again. Let's wipe here. Low heat. The thing with making scrambled eggs is really slow. I remember Dad used to make them slow too. And if you overcook eggs, they get really rubbery. If you put now here's the interesting thing. We're going to get into a little bit of culture of scrambled eggs. There's not one way to make scrambled eggs, of course. But there are three major well-known ways of making scrambled eggs. I tend to like the kind that you made. The British have a way of making it. The French have a way of making it that's very much like the hollandaise sauce video that I made. Where it's over a double boiler and they cook it really slow and it comes out very, very wet. Some people when they make English style or even American style, if they're a chef, they'll break the eggs right into the pan and they'll scramble them there and they get a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white. I don't like it that way. There's just this little thing. You're not supposed to do it too much, but just a little bit, and it's kind of just a little thing that if I don't do it, it doesn't feel like breakfast, and it's that. I just got to do that. You don't want to overbeat it. Now, this is another part that other people end up doing. They start throwing stuff in, milk. They start throwing their spices in. The thing is, if you spice, put salt in now, it does something to the egg. It's better to add the salt later. Now, there's putting water or milk in. Well, sometimes when you're making scrambled eggs, you might notice the eggs are starting to get watery. Well, that also comes from the salt. But you can get good scrambled eggs by putting milk and water in. You'll still have something that you like. But for a nice, custardy, rich, wonderful scrambled eggs, we're going to do this. We got a little bit of oil in here. I'm going to pour that out. I'm going to pour in my egg. All right. And it's a slow cook. Folding it back. It's very slow. It's a very slow process we want. We don't want to cook these too fast. We're just peeling it away. And that's the nice thing about using the spatula. We're going to get some really nice eggs here. When I go to China, I can't stand how they make scrambled eggs there. And people all over the world will have a different way of making scrambled eggs. But they make it in the hotels on a grill. And they cook it until it's done. But they forget one thing. Eggs can really hold their heat. And so when you do that and you put the eggs back onto a plate, they're cooking. They're still cooking. They're cooking as they steam. So at this point right now, I add a little bit of salt. I can add pepper if I want. I tend to put a little bit of, you can add what you want, of course. Everybody can. And what they want to put in there. Now the thing that I really want to put in here at this point, and it's time, you don't want to take it off the heat too. You don't want it to get too hot. So that's another part of making scrambled eggs. Don't leave it on the heat. Right now the pan is hot. Doesn't need heat. Just like I said, how the eggs will actually cook on the plate while they're steaming. Eggs are a slow deal to cook. If you cook them fast, you'll get rubbery eggs. So I'm going to put it back on there. Again, rinse this off. Actually, I can add it with a spoon, but I'm going to do it with this because I really want to fold this in. So that's about 2 tablespoons right there. And now that gets folded all in. And we do it like this. Spread it in and just. Whereas one move with it is scooping and scraping the heat. The other move is you see a big piece of cream cheese and you splatter. There was this restaurant in Vancouver. I was saying before, I had the best scrambled eggs I ever had, and it was this style. This is what they were making. So it's still very, very slow. This is good. Okay. Still cooking. All right. Now that cream cheese is all mixed in really well. Now, it's funny. I've been recently thinking, I'm getting very nostalgic about things, especially with my childhood. When I was really small, 3, 4 years old, you were at work, and there was this guy that would ride by from the boys' lodge. You come around the corner, and you'd be on a tall unicycle, and then he would ride up the hill, up by the golf course. And it made an impression on me, and I equate it to certain other things in my life that I got introduced to as a child. It made some impression, but then I took it a step further. It was just something that I think is very natural, happens to some people. They get an introduction to something, and they think it's just great. It's the greatest thing in the world. But then they end up finding out more about it than, the original experience was. Now, for instance, I know a lot about scrambled eggs. I know that Yesterday, the Beatles song, was originally called Scrambled Eggs, because Paul McCartney wrote the song, but from a dream. He only dreamt about the music, and he had the perfect music to a song. Now you see, look at that. I'm going to have to get this off of here pretty quick. It's going to start cooking on its own on the plate. So I made 2 plates. And that's enough for 2. These were 4 eggs. This is good. It looks a little wet still. Notice that. It's still wet. Well, that's because we're not going to eat it while it's wet. We're not going to eat it while it's steaming. We're going to let them get warm. And as it gets warm, it'll be at the perfect temperature. So, yeah, the scrambled eggs were the lyrics that he came up with because they didn't have anything else. So scrambled eggs. Now, I made breakfast one time for a girl from Argentina, and she just thought it was so weird that Americans can eat eggs for breakfast, because eggs in Argentina, they only eat dinner. So, all around the world, they have different ways of making eggs. Now, from Vancouver, and also from growing up being inspired by your scrambled eggs when I was a kid, this is what I make. And, all right, we can put it back on me. So, yeah. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Scrambled eggs inspired by you.